about to go and get my meal, and I start getting distracted by something else. This is the line which we bought from Pelican. This is our SRT rope. We designed this. Black is the baseline color of most of our advertising. Blue for Charger, yellow for Super B, red for Spartan, orange for Challenger. So this is the vessels that we want to have in our fleet. Blue, Charger we've already got, Challenger we've already got, Spartan we've already had, Charger, Challenger, Spartan. Yellow is Super B, which is the other one we want to get in the future. So we designed the thing on the outside here, and then this in the middle is 12 strand coated. It's not fluffy and kind of like an earbud. It's it stands on its own without any problem. This is Pelican Rope's product, synthetic stainless steel, and at half-inch rope diameter, this core can bear 8,800 kilos, which is 8.5 million pounds of, or whatever it is, of stress and strain. So awesome line. We're going to be using it mostly for lashing, so I'm just starting to separate it off now, and this is just a case really of milking the line. See, I've secured it on the bow, and then just getting hold of the sheath and just pulling the sheath back. And one of my criticisms of this line that I designed is that this sheath on this is way too soft. You can see down the line here now. Oh, there you go. So it's all completely come off, and then obviously there's a massive fat load of line here as it's coming apart. I stipulated how this one should go, this line, because I wanted a particular feel in the hand, but in practice it's too soft. It is awesome in other ways, because like even when the line is older and it's been in service, you can still splice it, which is just unreal. Just release the pressure as the bit you're taking off moves down the line. You've got to relieve the pressure on it so that it can come off the end of the core. There we go. Opa. So I remember doing this on Spartan when I was moored just off of cows, and this was in 2011, and I was on a mooring tied off by a bow line, literally from me through a ring on the mooring and back up onto me, and there was 4 knots of tide going one way, full flood in the Solent in the UK there, and then 40 knots of wind going the other way, or 30 or 40 knots of wind. It's a sailor's story. So it was 500 miles an hour of the wind and 600 knots of current. Anyway, so 4 going one way, 40 going the other way, and I was milking. I went the entire way around the world with that boat, and I had entirely stripped reef lines. The rigger had spec'd the lines I needed for the reefing, and we had no more money left in the budget. We'd bought the lines that had been suggested to us. Let me just get myself in the sun here. So we bought the line, which was 12 mil Marlow, and it wouldn't fit through the jammers, just wouldn't go. So I stripped them, and it was not even like there was sheath in the areas where the jammers then held. She went the entire way around the world with reef lines that the jammer was acting directly on the core of the line. So it always was slipping just slightly, and I learned things like, always leave your reef line on the winch and what have you. It wasn't really an option for me. I had to, otherwise it would have slipped right through. But it also proved things like, if the strain was getting too great on the reef line, it would pull it, it would start to slip and move and shift and slide around the winch, and you could get a very good feeling for how much strain you were putting on things. So, but anyway, I was doing this job, milking the line down like this, and as I looked up, I realized that the boat had come off the mooring. Basically, the line had sawn its way through, and I was now drifting with the current, of course, which is what you do. 1 knot of current is worth 10 knots of wind, right? So I was off with the current, and man alive, yeah, my first ever solo sailing, first time I ever solo sailed an open 60 ever. I had driven it up from Gosport to Cowes with somebody on board and help me out and give me some advice, but it's only like a couple of miles. So I'm stood at the mooring looking to go out to my trial, wait for this storm to pass. No, that's not my style, right? What happens is I come off the mooring, I phone ashore and say, oh my god, I've come off the mooring and there's no way of getting back with this little engine. So I end up off down the Solent scrambling inside the boat. It's moving. I'm getting the staysail, not staysail, the storm jib up on deck, getting that pinned on, getting the main hoisted up into fourth reef. Luckily the reef lines were in, and then sailing down the Solent and round Bembridge Ledge and off into the channel in 45 knots, having never sailed an open 60 before, having never sailed solo beyond just bits and bobs, you know, the cruising stuff, and in a boat that only just come out of refit, having been laid up for 4 years and been put back together by us lot complete monkeys. So whenever I do this job, whenever I'm milking line like this, I always think of standing on the deck of that boat, and I can't help but look forward down the boat and remember that sickening moment where I was no longer connected to the mooring. I guess it's even worse on this boat, because when I look forward it looks pretty much exactly like Spartan. Anyway, so this is off. So now we have heaps of core, and I say 8,800 kilos. This is exceedingly strong. What we'll be doing is replacing like this lashing here. This is slightly thinner Vectran, but this kind of backstay here, this stuff itself in here is Dyneema, so you don't need to have a Vectran lashing holding something that's Dyneema, because way before this breaks, oh sorry, pointing at things you can't see, you don't need to have Vectran lashings holding a Dyneema line, unless this maybe is, it doesn't feel like it's, I might check this and make sure that this runner tail is not Vectran. Just trying to feel like that. Vectran, when I feel this, it feels like corn ears. Like when you move your hand up a corn ear, you know, you get that feel. If you go the right way with it, it's kind of like gritty. If you go the wrong way, you're almost like cutting your hands on it. And this feels like gritty both ways. It's funny stuff, Vectran. It is not slippery like Dyneema. It's very, very grippy, but it has a weird kind of mechanical grittiness to it. And sometimes if you get the line and tweak it like this, you can feel the core and the sheath moving separate to each other, and you can detect whether it's, that's not Vectran, that's Dyneema. So that's a whacking great, what's that, 14 mil Dyneema line with then a massive Vectran lashing on it. The Vectran lashing is twice as strong as the line itself. So we'll replace this with Dyneema. I'm not really sure. I don't know the boat at all, so I got to look at details. But like this, this Vectran lashing is going from the block up here. It's going from the block here, and then lashing down. What's this, like 50 centimeters, 60 centimeters, up and down, up and down, up and down. But this runner tail has a loop on it, so to my mind, doesn't, as this radius here is equal to the pin radius in there, why not just connect the runner tail directly onto here? Here. Don't know, gotta look at the details on that. It could be that the runner tail itself is a bit too short. So at the moment, how much spare is in here? See, there's not very much spare. But it literally, it actually, if you think about it, look, that distance there, from there to there is the heavyweight line that's doing all the work. From here onwards is cheap line that's just there to allow, sorry, from there to there is the heavyweight Dyneema line that does all of the work. It's the strong line. This stuff here, this is just cheap line that feels good in the hands and allows you to manipulate the line. But you don't end up having really expensive line going all the way down and sitting in the cockpit, because when these runners come off and go forward, and it's a 3-to-1 purchase like that, you've got to put out something like 24 meters, they go 8 meters forward to the middle of the boat, you've got to put out 24 meters of line. You're going to have that like super expensive line that just spends its entire time doing nothing in the cockpit bottom or on the side deck. So this kind of tracer line at the end of it is very common. But look at this exact length here, from here to here, is about 50 centimeters. And then over here, the bit that it's out by is from here to here, 50 centimeters. So these have actually been cut very, very specifically to fit exactly on this boat. And then for some reason, they've had this giant lashing put in here. So the thing that's also not good about this situation is that the splice that holds this this eye here, the splice is going to be about minimum 14 times longer than the diameter of the line, okay? That would be minimum. It's probably gonna be twice that. So the splice is gonna finish, and I can feel it, the splice finishes up here. So the splice is now wrapped around the back of the block. The block is designed to take 14 mil line. And if you look in here, you see how the line is sitting incorrectly in the block? Oh my goodness. You see how the line is sitting incorrectly in the block? See this gap? It's not bedding down into that. So this is something that I have learned from Challenger and Spartan, actually all this stuff, what am I talking about? This stuff gets put together, it gets changed, it gets reworked, it gets thrown together by, you know, the skipper's got a quick job he has to do, or some young lad comes on board and does something, says he's a rigger. You have to check every single detail. And like this one here, I'd say instead of replacing, just to give you an idea, this Vectran is 20 euros a meter. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side and 4 on that side. So it goes round 4 times. So that's 2 meters of it, plus the lashing, say there's 2.5 meters. So there's 50 euros of lashing here and 50 euros over there. Canadian dollars, I need 200 Canadian dollars, 150 US on a lashing that is creating a problem for the boat and is simply sorted out by this getting lashed up here. Well, not lashed, getting pinned mechanically into where it's meant to be. So I'm happy about that because that means my job's just reduced by a lot. Get this, connect it there, and then these Dyneema lashings down here, I got to cut all of that away, and we'll put 2 nice lashings in there. We need about 2 meters. Oh no, that's not true. What's it? Oh, wow, they've got a huge lashing on there. You don't really have to do that. Yeah. Again, you know, this at maximum maxi chat, the rupture load on this main backstay, the most important backstay here is this one. The rupture load on this is 20 tons. So 3 wraps of 8-ton Dyneema will hold it. 4 wraps of it is going to get you into, you know, you're going to be bearing the load very easily. So 4 wraps across the top here more than holds it, but it's actually got another 4 inside there, which is double what it needs, which is, well, that's cool, right? That's, yeah, it's super fine. But for what we're doing right now, I'm looking at that thinking, I just need like 2 meters of line, 2 meters, 4 meters, 8 meters. We got like 10 meters of line just between the main sheet and these back blocks. That's half of what I've got available. I've not done anything else. So I think we might be making a few changes here. There's all sorts of weird things I don't really understand. Like, look at this. This here and then this here, okay? Now there's no other anything anywhere in here. What normally happens with this piece of rigging, this is the one that goes up and meets the second spreader. That's where the staysail attaches. Normally this is loose. Normally this is loose, the top stay, the tip stay, and this is the one that's doing the work. When it gets rougher, you want to put a little bit of pressure on both of them. When you got a kite up, you want to put a bit more pressure on this one and bend the rig back and really support the kite. And when you're in heavy conditions with the staysail, where the staysail's getting punched by the swell, punched by the wind, it starts to flex the mast forward and starts pumping the mast. You want this one on bar tight. So there's normally a way of like shortening this, like the dog and bones to be like a little T-piece of, like a little bit of rope with a little bar going across, like a buckle on an old jacket, you know, a little bit of wood, a toggle, like a toggle. In fact, that's what it's called toggle. There'd be a toggle here, which will allow this to be super loose, and then you can change it and put it, and then it's connected together, and the toggling puts tension on it. But like, it doesn't have any, which then I'm like, well, why is this here and this is here? Surely this is just cut too short. And then there's this like extra bit here. And then to help bridge the gap, I've got to put 2 meters of Dyneema in there. Same here, like this another 2 meters, same, whoa, shit. Wow. Okay, so that's really weird. So this is the main tip stay. This is the main stay. This is the one that's really holding up the rig, right? And then this one's holding the top of the mast, this is holding the middle way up the mast. This should be nut and bolt into here. the way this is designed, everything is designed to hold this in this position. So this block should be a little bit higher, and this should be completely and utterly connected into there. That would take that up by, oh, I'm gonna go and get something to eat. maybe the terminals are too wide to go in there, but I bet you a penny to a pound they're not. Width of a finger? Less than a width of a finger. That should be mechanically connected into there. You might say, oh, but you don't want hard point to hard point. No, you can do that. You can have hard point to hard point. This has even got a rope eye in it. All right, so this has got a rope eye in it, which has got rounded edges, and then this is standing here ready to receive a flat-sided drilled terminal, which just bolts onto there with no, why would you create an extra? This is a lashing which has, you know, it's got 3 or 4 turns in it, 3 or 4 hitches in it, and it's got 4 wraps of, so it's got 4 locking hitches and it's 4 wraps, which puts it exactly on the rupture limit for this. I keep saying rupture because I've been reading it. It's the ultimate breaking strain of the stay, but in French it's rupture, and I've been reading a lot of French stuff recently, so I'm going en français. So, but yeah, rupture's a good word. That's kind of how it would make you feel. Your ass would be rupturing out through your pants if this lot lets go. You've added something into here which is much weaker than everything else. This is bolted at the top, and now it's tied off with 4 half hitches down here. So yeah, that's not cool. That's not how it's meant to be. It also creates a lot of articulation in the block that you don't really want. All right, cool. Well, let's. What I got to do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna lay it on the deck and find out if all of this has been put in for some kind of cool articulation, which really helps the stays. I'm gonna have a good look at it. I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm gonna work out, try and understand what they're going for. These are smart people. We've said that so many times about everything else on the boat, and I don't know if this is some add-on after them, if it's some fossilized bit of something from way back when, but the look of this tape, this lashing and everything, like, it's not really got quality written all over it, has it? So there we go, another 17 minutes of me talking about boat stuff. If you're into boats, it'll be very interesting. If you're not into boats, you'll be wondering why it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're learning about the rigging on a boat that you've no interest in whatsoever. All right, cool. That's enough for me. Bye-bye.